All right, this is Sharon Morgan with the Oklahoma Striving Readers Grant, and this morning we're going to be doing a webinar on budget training and joint federal programs claims for the Striving Readers Grant. So if you are not part of that grant, this one is not for you.
I just hit it right on the screen.
Okay. All right. So we will be sending this recording out with the PowerPoint, but if you need that slide again, please go ahead and email me. I am here with Michelle Seybolt, which you all know from Striving Readers, and also Zada Sery, who is our GMS person in the Office of School Support, and she works with Striving Readers and a couple other grants and programs there in school support. If you do have glitches or errors with GMS, you can send them to Zada. Just take a screenshot of it and send it to her, and she can help us figure out what that is. Okay, so our agenda for today is we're going to go over the timeline, then we're going to talk about the FY20 Project 538, which is Striving Readers Budget, joint federal claims procedures, which apply to all federal claims, and then we will give you the contact information if you have any questions. Okay, so here's our timeline. So on the 1st of July, the OSRCL budget opened so that you can start thinking about your 1920 funds. By September the 1st, we need all FY19 closeouts completed. So you all will complete those closeouts. When you do so, any carryover that you have will go into the same grade band for the next year. So for example, in birth through 5, I have a $1,000 carryover. That $1,000 will go in birth through 5 for the next year. We are asking that you have your FY20 budgets in by September the 30th. If not, Michelle or I will be contacting you. By November the 1st, we hope that you would have your very first, at least one claim submitted. We ask that claims be submitted monthly. June 30th of 2020, the FY fiscal year ends. So this is the last day for POs. That is the last day that you can add anything to your budget. You have until August the 1st to finish claims, and you can move funds in your budget, but you cannot add anything to your budget after June 30th. Okay, after August 1st, if you do claim something, we will need a letter to submit to the Oklahoma State Board of Education explaining why your claim is after the August 1st deadline and what you're going to do in the next year to remediate that issue. Okay, some technical assistance. Here is the link to the PowerPoint. Again, we're going to send that to you in email. You can email or call Michelle or I, and of course Zada, for any GMS questions. And if you are still having difficulty, we are more than happy to come to your district and work with you on GMS and your budget. Okay. So when we're talking about your budget, all expenditures must meet the requirements of the OSRCL grant. We have made some slight revisions to our grant guidance booklet, and you can expect that in your next newsletter. So please be looking for that newsletter. It will have new grant guidance along with these materials. All programs must meet strong to moderate evidence. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a minute, but we know that any interventions, programs, supplementary materials you purchase have to meet strong to moderate evidence. We're also asking that the local education agency financial person and the literacy team work together to complete budgets and maintain communication about expenditures. We would really encourage you all to have some kind of monthly meetings throughout the year. We know that in smaller districts, the literacy team and the financial person are the same person, so you don't have as much issues there. But in larger districts, what issues we've had is that we have the literacy team working and spending and not communicating with the financial contact. So at the end of the year, we have all these claims, things not matching. So we encourage you to have communication between those two teams. Okay, just a reminder that our program codes, Program 431 is birth through age 5, Program 432 is kindergarten through 5th grade, 433 is 6th through 8th grade, and 434 is high school or 9th through 12th grade. Program codes should be indicated on the detailed expenditure report. So you all give us that report. Some districts are giving us all of the expenditures for all the programs in the report. So we have to go through and figure out which one goes where. So we need you to write that on the report. If your cost accounting system does not break it down by program code, we ask you to contact us and we will try to work with them on that. Until that's resolved in your district, please write the program code on there or have some kind of indicator of what that is so that we can match all that. If costs are split between programs, then please write down that cost breakdown on the invoice. So for example, you have a professional development and they are talking with middle school and high school and you split the cost up. Please just write down program 433 is getting this much, program 434 is paying this much, so we can easily see that. And then just a reminder that in OSRCL or Striving Readers Grant, we cannot move money between programs. So if you need more in program 434, we cannot move money from a different program for that. Okay, so in GMS, you have a place where you put expenditure descriptions. Okay, we need those to be detailed, so we can't just put supplies. We need to write down what those are so we know. Unknown expenditures can be indicated with a to be determined or a placeholder if needed. And any amendments, remember, need to be made before June 30th. We can move funds in the month after that, but we cannot add anything to your budget. So any personnel that you have in your budget needs to be entered in the school personnel records with the allowable job code. They need to be coded to Project 538, which is Striving Readers, and it needs to be a reasonable and necessary salary. If they are receiving salaries from OSRCL, we need their position title and name entered into the description box. We do not need the name and title if they're receiving stipends. That would probably could take up too much room. So if they're receiving a partial or full salary from OSRCL, we need their name and title entered in the description box in GMS. And their name is required on the claim. Okay, Striving Reader allows for 5% for indirect and administrative cost, those two together. So total of 5% for both of those. Indirect cost is available on these funds. It'll be budgeted on the 000 district budget in GMS. Administrative costs are available. You would use the function code 2330, activities associated with developing and maintaining federal grants. So that would be any personnel that you have maintaining federal grants, any kind of office supplies, that type of thing. We'll be looking for that in budgets to make sure we don't go over that 5%. So Striving Readers requires evidence-based practices that are strong to moderate evidence, pretty high evidence. So I'm going to be doing another webinar just on this, but I wanted to give you an overview. You can determine if your program, intervention, or supplementary materials meet strong to moderate evidence by going to the What Works Clearinghouse or Evidence for ESSA. Also, you can go to ERIC, if you remember that. It has research articles and research your program, or you can align the instructional practices to the strategies in the What Works Clearinghouse practice guides. And there are links right there. I would encourage you to really read the recommendations in the practice guides and make sure that the materials that you're purchasing align with what they're saying. This year, we're going to be asking you to fill out a form. There's a Google form here about any interventions, programs, or supplementary materials that you're purchasing so that we have documentation of that. Hopefully that will make it easier. And again, I'm going to be doing a whole webinar just about that. So we can get back to that later. All right, so these are joint federal programs and claims procedures. These procedures are updated annually. They're reviewed by a variety of stakeholders, and they're available at the back of the OCAS manual. And we just wanted to mention that the OCAS manual is now up, the new one for this year, so you can get that off the website. Okay, the purpose for these are to provide LEAs with a comprehensive claims procedures to assist them in preparing claims for submission to the State Department of Education. These procedures are considered best practices, and if followed, will reduce the likelihood of errors and increase the efficiency in which claims are paid. LEAs choosing not to follow these procedures run the risk of claims being delayed or denied. Okay, so general information expenditures must be reasonable, necessary, and allocable. All expenditures are subject to program-specific requirements. So again, what might be acceptable in a different program may not be acceptable in Striving Readers or vice versa. Claims and supporting documentation are only accepted through GMS. Okay, $0 claims are not required, and claims should account for all 12 months starting with July. And there's an example of the date. Copies of purchase orders are not required unless it's used as a contract, and images of checks are strongly discouraged for security and safety reasons. Claims begin on the first day of the month and end on the last day of the month. The date range entered in GMS must match the date range on the uploaded SCR and DER. Claims must be signed by the local Board of Education approved authorized official. GMS claims must align with the LEA's local cost accounting system, SCR, DER. Claims should be reviewed by LEAs for accuracy and allowability before being submitted. OSRCL requires that your detailed expenditure report includes program codes, which I mentioned before. And you all will go over them. You know that Michelle and I go over them. And then after Michelle or I have approved your claim, it goes to Zada for a final approval. Payments made with district credit cards must have the vendor name listed. So, for example, here we have the credit card name, and then we also have the name of the vendor. Please note, OSRCL claims should be submitted monthly. We're going to try to be following up and contacting you if that's a problem. OSRCL staff will be providing reminders so we don't come to the end of the year and we haven't spent money or we haven't made claims. Okay, late claims. Oklahoma's Administrative Code does not contemplate or allow for late claim submissions. Payment of late claims submitted after August 1st is subject to the approval of the State Board of Education. So if we come next year and we are getting claims after August 1st, we will need a letter on letterhead from your district signed by your superintendent that explains why the claim was late and what you'll do to remediate that problem in the future. Your DUNSAM's entity record must be current. If expired, a copy of the new entity record must be uploaded. It's recommended that LEAs renew the DUNSAM number as close to July 1st as possible. The function object code must align with the expenditure description. LEAs should consult the most current OCAS manual for coding. Again, we do have the most current manual on the OSDE website for this next year. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Okay, supporting documentation. LEAs are required to attach summary and detailed expenditure reports and supporting documentation to GMS. So these need to be in PDF format, clear and legible, uploaded in the same order as the expenditures appear on the claim, and no uploads named with special characters. Please do not use a highlighter on documentation. I've had this issue where we've highlighted it, and when I see it, it's blacked out. So I can't even see it. So that causes delays in claims. Please indicate on the invoices if there's any shared or split costs. Use the term revised or corrected when attaching a revised upload to a returned claim. So this is the sequence that go for detailed expenditure reports. So first we have the purchase order, and then you get the invoice for services your district pays, and then after that it will come to the OSDE and we will reimburse. Okay, so we're going to go through each one of these object codes. So object code 100 is for personnel services. Salaries include extra duty, stipends for Per the OCAS manual, personnel should be entered accurately into the school personnel records before claiming. So when we get your claim and we see personnel on there, we go to the school personnel records to see if it's coded for OSRCL, and if not, we'll contact you. Tutors will use the object code 139. If the tutors are not in the school personnel reports, documentation is required on the claim. So if you don't have it in the school personnel reports, you could put a timesheet or something of that nature. PD stipends, registration, and sign-in sheets are needed if applicable. Entering personnel in student personnel record, entering personnel in student personnel records accurately means they have an allowable job code, it's coded to Project 538, it's a reasonable and necessary salary, SPR details align with the FY20 Project 538 budget. Please do this before the claim is approved. Stipends for PD that required a paid registration must be accompanied by the registration invoice. Stipends for PD that did not require a paid registration need an agenda, so please put that in your claims. Okay, benefits. So this is object code 200, employee benefits. Benefits for salaries including extra duty and stipends. Per OCAS manual, personnel should be entered accurately in the school personnel records before claiming. No documentation is required for benefits. Okay, object code 300 is for contracted services. Amounts paid for professional and technical services rendered by personnel not on the payroll for the LEA. A copy of the contract or purchase order, if used as a contract, must be provided. Invoices for contracted services serve as documentation for this. Purchase orders should be in place before the contracted services take place. Contracting with tutors does not exempt the tutors from being certified. They do need to be certified to be serving as tutors. Okay, purchase property, that's object code 400. Services purchased to operate, repair, maintain, and rent property owned or used by the LEA. It's really highly unlikely that we would use this for striving readers. You would use an invoice, but we don't use this object code. Object code 500, other purchase services, staff travel are included here. SDE honors the travel policy of the local education agency, but federal caps apply there. Receipts for real costs or LEA per diem form service documentation. Travel expenses for non-OSDE professional development require an agenda, program, or some type of certificate. Please, with travel, do not attach conference badges, airline tickets, hotel keys, photographs, instructional materials, or multi-paged brochures. If the LEA's travel policy allows for per diem, LEAs must request per diem on the claim and include the appropriate paperwork. If LEA's travel policy allows for real cost, LEAs must request real costs on the claim and include appropriate receipts. I will say it has been simpler to have per diem. So if your district uses real costs, you might think about changing to per diem. If necessary, airfare, hotel reservations, workshop registration can be paid in advance. Real-time expenses, per diem, food, luggage, travel, airport fees cannot be paid in advance. Items like alcohol, gum, candy, snacks, souvenirs, jewelry, and personal expenses will not be reimbursed. Transportation to restaurants, shopping, and entertainment areas will not be reimbursed. So if you're at a workshop and you all take an Uber to a restaurant to have dinner, that is not an allowable expenditure. So we need to make sure that's not in there. You can travel from the airport to your hotel and from your hotel to the conference. That travel is okay, but not transportation to restaurant, shopping, or entertainment. Okay, supplies, object code 600, amounts paid for material items of an expendable nature that are consumed, worn out, or deteriorated by use. Quotes are not accepted as documentation. Invoices and receipts for supplies serve as the documentation. Licenses and subscriptions must take place in the fiscal year being funded. You can see the general fund definition of this. It is recommended LEAs work with their vendors to ensure that all annual licenses and subscriptions intended for reimbursement with federal funds run between July 1st and June 30th. Itemized warranties that exceed 1 year are not allowable in this category. Food and food-related expenditures are not allowable with Project 538 funds. Includes light snacks, catering of any kind, refreshments, gift cards, gift certificates, incentives, and related expenditures are not allowable. You cannot use these funds to purchase items that you give away. Property, that's Object Code 700, expenditures for the acquisition of fixed assets or additions to fixed assets. Again, this is one that likely will not be used for OSRCL, but we wanted to mention it. Proper coding for 700 will depend on the way the invoice is issued. Okay, registration. This is Object Code 800. Other objects, professional development registration would be included here. Registration invoice that include PD title and participant names will serve as documentation for this. Okay, we're going to stop here. And here is our contact information. So if you have any questions, we would encourage you to likely start with Sharon or Michelle with your questions, and then we can determine if it's a GMS issue, and then we can forward that on to Zada. If you do just have a glitch or an error code, take a screenshot and you can send that to Zada, and she can help with that as well. So again, thank you so much for listening. We hope this has been helpful, and please contact us if you have any questions. Thank you.